attacked at their Friday prayers. A suicide bomber kills dozens of worshippers at a crowded mosque in northwest Pakistan. Government officials say the attack was in retaliation for the army's offensive against the Taliban. I'm Rob Reynolds, and you're watching Al Jazeera live from Washington. Also on the program, Sri Lanka's Navy seizes a ship carrying aid for Tamil civilians as pressure grows on the UN Secretary General to act over alleged war crimes.
I accept responsibility. But
Britain's Prime Minister says he won't step down. And death in the Amazon. Indigenous people protesting over oil and gas exploration clash with police in Peru. Pakistan's army chief has claimed the battle with Taliban fighters in the Swat Valley has decisively turned in the military's favor. Army commanders are also pointing to success in other regions in the northwestern part of Pakistan. Despite all that, on Friday there was a deadly bombing in a crowded mosque. It killed at least 30 people on Friday. Dozens more were wounded. The attack happened in the remote Upper Deer region near Swat. No one has claimed responsibility, but Pakistani officials have blamed the Taliban. One of the areas the Taliban had captured was Buner, just 100 kilometers from the Pakistani capital. The military now says it has regained complete control in that region. While the battle might be over, the struggle for returning refugees continues, as Al Jazeera's Kamal Haider reports.
Family after family returning by the busload, others clinging to the back of the vans, desperate to return to the homes they had fled from. As we arrive in Duggar, the district headquarters, we can see evidence of a city coming back to life, and some essentials are coming through. The civilian administration is gradually limping back, but not without the protection of the army. Just outside the district administrator's office, people are reporting back to work and to receive fresh orders. Despite the semblance of normalcy, there is a word of caution.
It may take more than 2 months, and it may be cleared earlier than 2 months. You can't, in such like situation where your enemy is not known and he can fizzle out in the society, it is difficult to eliminate them, and you can't give a certain time. In my opinion, it can take a week, it can take a year, and it can take a month. You cannot say that it will give, cannot give a certain time limit that within that time we can finish this. But definitely we are trying, and we are moving faster than we expected.
Duggar may have survived large-scale damage, but as we drive deeper into Buner, we can see the true scale of the devastation and the evidence of fierce fighting. I'm in Sultan Was, which is in Buner, and this is a place which was at the scene of some of the heaviest fighting between the Pakistani military and the so-called Pakistani Taliban. The military in the end had to use artillery and air power, and you can see the devastation around me. While some are lucky to find their homes still intact, others may find there's nothing left. Sanullah says he came back because life in a refugee camp was unbearable, but he's not sure what's going to happen next.
The planes are still in the air. Some of the people are desperately trying to save their crops, but are still in fear and not at ease with the current situation entirely.
As he invites us into his home to see fragments of artillery shells and bullet casings on the floor. The Pakistani Taliban used Sanullah's house as a hideout after he and his family escaped. He shows us the empty casings. The green bullets come from Afghanistan, he says. The others are our militaries. From the large-scale damage, it is quite clear that the military knew what the targets they were attacking. The broken doors, possible evidence of a house-to-house search by special forces. Remarkably, nothing has been touched. All the belongings still there. For the first time since the military's offensive began, we are able to drive as far into Buner as Pir Baba, the mountain village named after a local saint. Soldiers stand guard at his shrine. Not long ago, it was the Pakistani Taliban that manned the gates here. There is no doubt that the military has gained much ground this week, and there are reports that senior Taliban figures in the area have been captured. As we drove back from Bunair, we found the road was closed. The army had come under attack and taken casualties at a point we had crossed earlier. A grim reminder for those returning that all is not still right in the Northwest Frontier Province. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Bunair.
Well, to discuss the latest developments in Pakistan, I'm joined by Major Murad Khan, who served in the Pakistani military and was a media spokesman for former Pakistani President Musharraf. Mr. Khan, the Pakistani military has been making some upbeat, optimistic statements about having turned the tide in this battle. I understand that your family roots are in the Swat Valley, so you have some contacts in the area. What are your contacts telling you about the state of the military engagement?
The statement which was issued by the Chief of the Army Staff that, the situation has turned favorably in the favor of the security forces after the operation, tactically I would say they are right, because if you've seen the previous two operations which was launched in November 2007 and then in 2008, what happens is the methodology which was adopted this time by the security forces was different. They tried to encircle these militants from the mountains, from their three main camps which they established in Puchar, Malam Jaba and Benembaba Bridge area. And from there they destroyed the safe haven of these militants in the mountains and came to the town. But the problem which I always highlight is that the people of the area, they are not on board with the government and the security forces for these operations. Until the time the people of the area, inhabitants of the Valley of Swat, are not fully on board for the operation, it would not strategically, they would not achieve their desired objective.
Well, are the local residents, are they caught in the middle between the Taliban and the military, or are they actively siding with the Taliban? You say they're not on board with the military.
They are not on board for the reason that in the previous two operations, many of the people, in one of the operations, I was part of that as a media information officer. A lot of people walked up and they shared the information regarding these militants, and they were up front supporting the government drive. But after the operation, these militants, they absolutely targeted all those individuals who supported the government.
So there were reprisals.
The fear of those militants is still in the hearts and mind of these people, and the government have miserably failed to eliminate that fear of militants from their hearts and minds.
Well, given that the militants can go into the mountainous areas and then come back when the troops leave, what really constitutes victory in a situation like this?
I told you it's a tactical that, for the time being, the military go into an area, they clear the area, and these militants leave the area, and most of the time, I mentioned earlier also, that they started melting into the IDPs, and then who is going to differentiate between a militant and an innocent civilian? These are the common people like I'm from the area. If I live there, I can differentiate that who is a militant, who is a supporter, and who is a facilitator. But a person who go there from other part of the country for the operation, he doesn't know who is a militant, who is a innocent civilian.
From a military or a political point of view, what is the strategy behind the kind of bombing, for example, that we saw earlier in a mosque during Friday prayers, the victims, civilians? What is the motive behind that as a strategic weapon?
From the militant side, the only thing, they want to terrorize the people. They want to terrorize the masses, and that fear they want to inculcate into their hearts and mind, which they were quite successful in the past. We have seen they have targeted their family even. People have been burnt alive, all those who supported the government in their previous two operations. And I always call them that they're not militants, they are monsters. They are involved in inhuman activities against the innocent people of the area.
All right. Major Murad Khan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much.